What's going on, everybody, and welcome to the Other Side of the Firewall podcast, where we talk about the latest and greatest in cybersecurity news, as well as we highlight those movers and shakers and glass ceiling breakers of people of color who've made it to the other side of the proverbial firewall. My name is Ryan Williams. As always, we're joined by Shannon.
What's up? What's up?
What's going on? So thank you for tuning in on your podcast platform of choice, or on WDJY 99.1 FM in the Atlanta metro area, or Fairfax Radio in the broader DC area. So welcome aboard, everybody, and I'm glad that you are listening to us. Please continue to check us out, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Without further ado, I'll give it to you, Shannon, for the first topic.
All right, everybody. So this first topic, excuse me, comes from cybersecuritydive.com, written by Eric Geller. And the title of this one is FCC requires emergency alert distributors to secure their systems, right? And so it's kind of hard for me to believe this wasn't already a thing, right? Like with it being so widespread. Something else, like after I read this article, I looked into it. Something else I was thinking about as I was reading it. So like I have all streaming services, right? So like I don't have cable. And I was thinking, and I was like, I don't know if I've ever seen any of those EAS messages unless I was watching like a local cable channel or something like that. And it turns out that when it comes to the streaming services, there is no deal for them to have any type of EAS messaging and things of that nature, right? So like it's a very complicated issue that they haven't hashed that out yet. But it just made me think about it as I was reading this and looking into what they were talking about. But so what they're talking about is getting a better set of cybersecurity standards, I guess you could say, right? To make sure that the EAS systems are not getting hijacked by cyber criminals. And that makes sense, right? Because you can cause mass panic, right? It's like what is it? The War of the Worlds radio thing
Right, yeah.
that happened years ago, right? Like you don't want to incite mass panic like that, especially in this day and age, right? Because people are like, all right, we knew it was going to happen, right? Like now's the time.
Right,
Like,
somebody runs to their bunker.
Yeah.
Which probably happened in Hawaii. Remember Hawaii? They accidentally hit the button.
I gotta be honest with you.
Nukes inbound.
I thought I dreamt that, Ryan. Like I was thinking about it as I was reading this, and it didn't mention it in the story. And I was like, maybe I dreamt that. But thank you for confirming, because I was like, this had to happen.
It wasn't a hack. It was just someone made a mistake.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Cool. But I do remember the Hawaii thing, and I was like, ooh, what is going on there? But okay. Yeah. See, I'm getting older to where my memory isn't what it used to be, and I'm like, I thought this was a thing. But what they're talking about again is doing better cybersecurity maintaining when it comes to radio stations, broadcast TV networks, cable systems. They want them to use strong passwords because like that's a thing that's continually a thing, and I don't understand why. Like people are just letting default passwords go when they put stuff into production. It's like, come on, like you got to know better than this, especially in this day and age where you can just look stuff up so easily, right? To be like, okay, well this is the IP you would use to get into whatever router. This is the username. This is the password. That's standard. Stop doing that, right? But they also talk about them deploying network firewalls, right? And applying security patches. Again, seems like common sense to me, right? Like this is something that we would definitely be doing long before now, but apparently that's not the case, right? And so they talk about in the article about the FCC said that it had previously warned EAS operators about different flaws and things of this nature, right? So it apparently got renewed attention back in 2022 at the DEF CON Hacker Conference, right? So if they talking about it at DEF CON, you better believe you better start getting on it, right? Like you show up at DEF CON, you don't bring your phone, don't bring anything that has any type of wireless or Bluetooth. Like
right,
they're
throw it all
in it
away.
to win it. Yeah, they're in it to win it, baby. Like so, if it's coming up there, it's going to bring a lot more renewed attention to it, to what is going on. Something else I learned when I was reading this article, apparently, right, when I looked at the notice that they put out, is apparently there's only a 90 character maximum message limit on these messages, and I did not know that. Like as I was reading it, I was like 90 character maximum for the messages. I was like, it's been 120 with social media. Well, it was 120 for social media when it first started out.
Yeah,
like we're past that now, right? Like it's
shorter than a tweet.
Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's like, you figure if you're going to put something out to the masses like that, you would definitely expound upon it, and you'd make it understandable for like those older audiences that may not really be with lingo, of the times and whatnot, right? Radical cowabunga, you know what I'm saying? So, but no, that was kind of surprising to me too, the 90 character thing. And I guess it's just something I've never noticed. Like when I read the messages, I've just never noticed that they were short. And it kind of makes it now that I think about it, I was like, yeah, they were kind of worded poorly You know what I mean? And just repeating. But yeah, expanding on the 90 character maximum, that's something that should be done as well. But Ryan, what's your thoughts on this?
Yeah. So surprised, but not truly surprised, because we kind of talked about this when it came to like emergency like road signs a few years back, where people were hacking those and just putting up funny stuff or other stuff. But it definitely showed that you could, like you said, cause panic, right? You could say like, the road closure ahead or whatever you wanted to, as opposed to here in Florida, it's usually road closures, delays, and silver alerts, right? For older people who have, grabbed the keys to their car and taken off, and, family's concerned about them. But yeah, like we talked about the radio system being hacked not too long ago, or at least being vulnerable. Now we talk about the EAS system being vulnerable. Like if you don't make people do anything, they will not. They will make their password Louvre Louvre at the Louvre, right? Like they won't take the effort, right? It's just like, oh well, that's what it is. It's what it is. All right, let's keep it that way. It's where we're at. People do not go above what's necessary because it's so expensive, right? It's cost prohibitive for the most part. So like my thing is, if the FCC is saying that you must do, is there initiative being put forward to make it happen? Firewalls aren't cheap, right? Like security assessments aren't cheap. At least get them to the baseline standard as well, right? They should just maybe a blanket NIST CSF across all these systems just to make sure that they're following some kind of parameters to keep themselves safe. Like you got to go beyond just strong passwords for these systems. But again, like I said last episode, I'm running my hands like Birdman. Like who are these agencies and where are they at? I would love to do an assessment on them. Not being greedy, it's just it opens up the clientele pool, right? Like now they need this. Can they handle it themselves? Because I would suspect if they had a security team, they would have done something. Because you'd be paying them for nothing if they're not at least doing password management. So
Yeah, but like somebody had to install it, right? Like so somebody has to install, whether it be software, hardware, or whatever, to implement what is going on here, right? And you would figure they would know better. And you know what? I say that assuming that there's someone qualified that did it. They could have just went to, a receptionist and been like, hey, go install this, go make this happen or whatever, right? Because they don't have a cybersecurity team, which is hard to believe at the federal level. So like even the thing you're talking about with the signs and whatnot, that's more localized. And I could see that more, right? Because it's more on a local city, county, state government to make it happen when it comes to the road signs and whatnot. But we're talking EAS messaging that is federally controlled. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's why I'm like, how have we been here? Like, and especially in the last couple of years, the amount of attention that's been paid when it comes to federal systems being hacked or attempts being made at it, right? Like I just can't see it. I can't see it as this far behind right now. I'm glad it's getting attention. I am, but you also bring up another good point. Where's the money to back this up, right? Like,
yeah,
they don't say anything about funding going towards this, right? Like I did not see that in the article. I didn't see it in the announcement, which is one page, mind you. The one page announcements they reference in there. It is not multi pages of these are the steps we're going to take. It's just that hey, we're going to do something about it, but you got to put the money into it. And again, with organizations like CISA losing money, right? Like you've had it to where you've had different systems that are being used that are threatened to have been lost. You know what I mean? Like when it comes to the CVE database and things of that nature, it's like, come on, like we're we can only do so much before it just breaks, right? Like I love that you want to put initiative towards this, but you got to back it up with money. And I know there and for all the things that have happened in the last year and a half to where there was thought to be government waste, like there really is government waste in places to where this can be funded, I think, right? But that's just me, right?
yeah, because it's to, I guess, be more clear what a EAS operator is. So, right, Emergency Alert System EAS operators, formerly designated as EAS participants, are the nation's radio, television, cable, satellite, and wireline providers. They are legally required to broadcast presidential alerts during a national emergency and voluntarily transmit state and local alerts such as amber and severe weather warnings. So they're not necessarily owned and by anyone in particular, right? So your news stations, your radio stations, and what have you. They just have a requirement to broadcast these alerts and things of that nature. And I think that's part of the providing them the spectrum, right? Especially when it comes to radio. It's like, okay, if you want to operate within the spectrum, this is owned by the government. And in turn, from you purchasing it or leasing it, now you have to do the emergency alerts whenever they are necessary, which makes sense, right? Because you have to broadcast as messages across as many lines as possible. I don't know what a wireline provider is. Maybe that's because they say cable in here too, so I don't know what that is. Maybe it's telephone,
Yeah, but
maybe?
maybe, but like how many people have hard lines now, right? Because like they even mentioned in the article when it comes to the wireless UEA, I think is what it was listed as, like with the cell providers, like that's a little different too. Like it's not the same as the news providers and
Right.
things of that nature. So it's like, gosh, okay, so now it's even different
It's
with
even more
them. So
complicated. Yeah, it's
yeah,
even more complicated. So they're negotiate FCC has to negotiate with all these different entities in order to make sure this happens. But like yeah, like you said, I didn't know that either. That but it makes sense, right? You would have to if you're accessing those apps through a cable box, now you have a cable provider who has to do this. But if you're doing them a la carte, then they don't really necessarily it doesn't necessitate a central point for them to say you have to provide this thing. You can't just say HBO Max. You you have to provide this thing. I can see the only person I can see doing it potentially would be Hulu because Hulu locks you down to a specific IP. It's like if you try to access this from somewhere else, it's like, hey, are you so and so? Is this your new primary address? Because we don't do family sharing over here. But for the most part, yeah, there have to be a actual cable provider, wireless provider. So yeah, it's crazy. Well,
well, even with Hulu, that's Disney owned, which is owned by ABC, right? Like so, or however it is, right? Or ABC, Disney
yeah,
owns
ABC's
ABC,
owned by
ABC owns
Disney.
Disney,
Yeah,
or whatever. Yeah, but like, I don't know. I just as I'm reading it, I started thinking about it, and I was like, man, I don't see those messages unless I am watching a local like
right.
show, and usually it's during football season. That's kind of like the only times I'm watching anything that's streaming live. You know what I mean? So like I'm watching a football game and then like an alert comes up or something like that. But yeah, I don't know. That's hopefully they put money behind this to make this something that can be implemented, right? I don't want it just to be more words that no action goes behind and
Right.
just falls by the wayside.
Or make these providers struggle to like so if you're like a local radio station that doesn't have a lot of funding, like how are you going to afford this? And to your point where you said like maybe professionals who installed this gear to begin with should have done their due diligence. It probably was a follow-on. They're probably like, we're going to put this in here with admin. If you like us to secure this, that'll be X amount of dollars, right?
Yeah.
And radio station was like, nah, admin it is. So yeah, they definitely like. I would say the FCC is going to make this happen, but at the same time, they're like, well, you bought the leasing rights or the spectrum or whatever, and with that came this requirement. You just weren't doing it, so now we're going to put some teeth behind it. So it's a catch-22.
If there was a requirement to it, this wouldn't be necessary though. You know what I mean? Like if there was already a requirement and it was already being enforced by the FCC, right?
Well,
Federal,
it wasn't
that's what
being
the F is.
enforced. It was like here's the requirement, and there was no teeth, and now they're like, nah, nah, like we're seeing too many issues when it comes to it not being secured properly.
Yeah.
So I don't
I don't
know.
know, man.
Either
I'm
way,
not in those far reaches of government like that, you know?
right, right. Either way, go to RyanWilliamsSenior.com to reach out to me if you need some extra protection. But without further ado, Shane, I give it to you for topic 2.
All right. This next article comes from darkreading.com, written by Alexander Kalafi. And the title of this one is 2026 FIFA World Cup faces surge in cyber threats. Now, this is not a surprise. We talked about this before it even kicked off. Like we talked about this on the show about how because it's such an interesting event in that it's tied into Canada, the United States and Mexico. There's so many nations that are coming over and so much intermingling with everything that's going on that this was going to be a problem, and it is, right? So the social engineering of it, cyber crime they're talking about, infrastructure threats. It's this whole thing when it comes to having an international get together like this, because this is like Olympics as well, same type of thing, right? Like you're gonna have the same type of thing when the Olympics comes around every 4 years, right? Because you got all these nations and all these people that are in attendance. And some of the things they bring up in the article, I'm like, that's a really good point. I never really thought about it like this, is that because it's the World Cup and you have people from other nations that are coming to nations that they're not familiar with, it opens it up more for them to be susceptible to like different things that they may not be used to because they're not in their home territory, right? They're over in the United States, drinking Boston dry, which they really did, right? The I think it was the Polish came over to
Right.
Boston and drank them dry, bro. That's crazy, you know what I mean? But like Boston, you know what I mean? They drank all the Sam Adams. Is that what we
Yeah, I
talking
was gonna
about?
say Sam Adams.
You know what I'm saying? But like, again, with them being from another country coming to a new place, just the non-familiarity can make it easier to do things. Like there's things they're just not used to, right? Like that they may be falling for, or maybe logging into, and just aren't used to seeing, which it opens up the possibility of that. And that's what is happening, right? They're talking about the cyber threats and those different things like stadium operations that are going on because these stadiums are operating for longer amounts of time than what they normally are, right? Like, so usually you may get, one game a week or whatever, right? Well, now they have to be on alert for longer. Like if you open yourself up longer, you make yourself more available to these different threats to happen, right? So they talk about the targeting of it. And yes, this is what happens when you do these different types of international events and you invite so many different types of people to come over, right? And like people will get fooled by like merchandising sites even, right? Like especially for the World Cup, like they're selling all these jerseys of your team and whatnot, and you get targeted and you're purchasing you think you're purchasing your Messi jersey, you know what I mean, and you just giving money up to somebody, right? Like things like that just need to be looked at. But that's what's happening, is that there's and here's the thing. You have to protect people when it comes to stuff like this, but how much effort is really being put into this, right? Like the organizers aren't really worried so much about, I hate to say this, protecting the people as much as it is, okay, we want money to come in. We want people to come into the stadiums, buy the food, do these other things. If they get attacked because of an email because they got targeted, they probably don't care as much, right? Like that don't really affect us that much. And that's just what's happening. But what's your thoughts on this, Ryan?
No, I don't think you're off target at all. And there's just so much that needs to be done in preparation. You would hope that at least the facilities would be locked down really, really, you know, tightly. Within this article, so there's a quote from Kane McGladrey, senior member of the Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineering, IEEE, and also friend of the podcast. I actually have an interview with him that needs to be edited. So I talked to him recently, but I'm behind on my Ask a CSSP interviews. But he tells dark reading teams can survive data floods by creating a baseline of quote normal behavior before relevant events, so deviations trigger immediate automated responses. Defenders can use dedicated honeypots replicating stadium infrastructure as well as real-time behavior telemetry from within one's own network, so teams can spot in quotes, unusual behavior in IT and OT layers in the minutes before an attack. So you really have to do your due diligence, right? Like they need to be proactive as well as reactive when these threats do occur within their stadiums and what have you. But like you said, again, that's not necessarily taking down malicious websites or getting rid of bad links and things of that nature. Again, people have to use their own due diligence and really think about it. But I would hope also when it's reported, right, like the people who do report spam and things of that nature, it's cleaned up fairly quickly. Because when we talked about the setup, we were talking about how Mexico was getting ready and preparing. We were talking about how the U.S. was preparing. I don't think we really got into Canada. I didn't see too many articles on Canada. But in totality, they were preparing for this to happen. So you think that they would have been on the web looking for this malicious stuff before it was able to get too many people. But again, it's really up to people to use their due diligence to really think like, is this a good link? Am I buying like why is this jersey a quarter of the price it should be, right? And things of that nature. Because we do a better job in person, right? As you're walking around, because outside of every stadium is going to be people selling stuff, right? That's just what they do. People are hustling out there selling chains, right? Your favorite team or jerseys that are missing letters and things of that nature. Some stuff is legit, right? But for the most part, there's a lot of off brand stuff.
The hustle man gear to say Whitty Hutton. Hustle man was trying to sell the Whitney Houston shirts and
Right.
said Whitty Hutton.
They're gonna be a little off.
But that's the point I'm making, is that in America, like you're kind of used to that stuff. Like you see it more often. That may not be the stuff that's going on overseas when it comes to what's happening outside their stadiums. You know what I mean? They're just not used to that type of stuff. And there's other stuff they talk about in the article. I forgot to mention one of the other things I wanted to hit on was just other things that are going on in the city, further complicated as well, right? Because they mentioned about how in Philadelphia there's a strike for, I can't remember if it's like transportation union or the bus
Okay.
union or something like that. So like you have other stuff going on. So you got protesting that's going on. You got people on strike for
Right.
different things. So it makes it to where there's more mayhem, and it makes it easier to trying to for cyber. What am I trying to say here? So the bad guys, right?
Yeah, the
To
threat
go
actors are able
threat
to
actors. Thank you.
yeah, to shield or mask their activities because of all
Exactly.
the unrest and traffic and
There
what
it
have you.
is. That's what I'm trying to say. There you
Yeah.
go. Thank you, Ryan. But yeah, it's just with all those things going on. And again, this is a massive event, right? It was 48 countries that are participating across these three, like again, Canada, the US, and Mexico. So there's a lot going on, right? And it's the publicity of it all, right? For ransomware gang to be like, hey, we hit the World Cup, this major event that happens. Like it's just that notoriety of it all too, right? Like you make yourself a target just because you are a big event. You know what I mean? So it's what people got to look out for. So be careful. Be careful, our international bros and sisters. You know what I mean? Like when you come over, like be careful, right? Don't fall for the stuff. If it doesn't look right, right, just don't be like, all right, yeah, I'm not gonna do that. Like I'm pretty sure Messi has two S's in it. Why does it say Masai? I don't know. This jersey is a little off,
Right,
right?
right. Yeah, just again, use your due diligence, be careful, try to like spot those things before they take place or just don't interact with it. Like if it's too good to be true, it probably is. So, but I give it to you, Shannon, for the discussion.
All right, everybody. So this article comes from darkreading.com as well, written by Nate Nelson. And it says Europe evolves into ransomware's favorite region. Now, before I even went on to read the article, I thought it was one of those things where, like with the EU, they're like, hey, don't pay nobody if they try to get a ransom out of you. And I was like, that's what's pissing them off. That's what's upsetting them. And they're like, all right, we'll show you. Believe it or not, that did not come up in the article as much as I thought it would. Like I was like, okay, they made them upset, but they hit on some other points that come up in here, right? And what it is just, and personally, I think it's some other regional things that are going on over there that kind of make it a little bit easier for these things to different happen, for these things to happen when it comes to attacking some of these nations. But a lot of the smaller nations that are over there are getting hit as well, right? And then I guess that's one of those things where when you are a smaller nation, like it can be perceived and sometimes it's proven true that your cyber defenses are not what they should be, right? No, I don't say that to say that the smaller nations are the only ones that are getting hit, according to this article, because like they start showing some numbers in here, and they say in all, 68.5% of all attacks affected the largest markets, which was the UK, Germany, France, Italy, Spain. Those are the big ballers over there, right? And then they talk about the volume they get every year, and they talk about how much more it's gone up. So Italy experienced a full 92% more attacks, right, in 2026 from 2025. In Spain, the rise was 77%. In France, the rise was 119%, right? So like they're like, hey, we're gonna hit you, right? Like we're gonna go and find what we need to. And like those are the big countries, right? So when it mentions some of the smaller ones here, I'll give you the numbers for those as well. It was a 433% increase in Turkey, 333% increase in Romania, 217% in Poland. So they're and something they mentioned in the article is not necessarily fatigue from dealing with the US, but it's kind of the saturation. So like the United States, like we get more than half of the cyber attacks that happen in the world. Like we're just a target for it, right? So what they mentioned in the article is that there may be a little bit of fatigue for that. Like defenses may be getting a little bit better, right? Because it's happening more. So like, all right, let's go over here to across the pond and see what we can make happen. And hence these numbers going up as much as they are, right? Because when I saw 433% increase in Turkey, I was just like, geez, Louise, like that's not small, right? But yeah, I thought it was because the EU was pissing them off, but I guess that's not the case, right? They're just like, hey, we've hit America enough. Their defenses are getting better. Like you got to make the juice worth the squeeze, right? Like you're only going to do so much and get rejected so much before you're like, okay, I got to find another target. Where's the soft target, right? It's the reasons that your medical facilities and things like that were getting hit. You know what I mean? But now, to our credit, there are times where we'll put different laws into effect and put some money behind it. Now, we as cybersecurity professionals, we may want more money going behind it. We're like, okay, that's something, right? Like we could do a little more, but at least it's a start, right? So like when you get that first little bit of resistance, they find it easier target. Apparently, it's across the pond over there in Europe. But Ryan, what's your thoughts on this?
No, absolutely. And I was going to also hit on that, just the saturation. Like they're like this is a business, right? Ransomware as a service is a business for them, and they're like, well, we're not getting enough traction over here, so we have to go to other nations, just like any business would do, right? Like when they reach a level of saturation, let's find a new emerging market, right? In this case, it's just we haven't been hitting Europe enough, so we'll move on to them. So in the article, Furhat, Furhat, I can't say his last name, so I already apologize. Chief Research and Intelligence Officer at Black Kite, which Black Kite is dope. Like I used them when I was working for a different company, and they pretty much give you a report card of how a business is doing when it comes to their own cyber protection, things of that nature. You get a lot of information. It's pretty good. First, in oversaturation of ransomware activities, the U.S. is leading some to seek opportunities elsewhere. And second, and this is my read, attackers' own artificial intelligence assisted target research is starting to point them to Europe. So like they got the stats to back it up as well. They're like, hey, listen, it's getting softer over here. Or they're more lax, or just we can't compete with shiny hunters over here in the States. They're sucking up all the resources. So let's go over, to Turkey or somewhere else, which I'm really surprised because Turkey already had an issue when I was there, right? When I was on active duty, sextortion was pretty big, right? So like as soon as you enter the country, you get a WhatsApp message like, hey, or hi. There's always those one word messages where you're supposed to, buy into it. But yeah, there were military members that were, unfortunately sharing pictures of themselves, things of that nature, and they turn around and use it to exploit them, right? Because they thought that they were interacting with, some cute Turkish girl or guy, and it turns out it was, a ransomware gang, and now they're using it against you. In which the policy was always like, hey, report, report, report. Like you did it. It is what it is. Now let's fix this before they start getting your paycheck. Because we'd rather you get into a little bit of trouble than a lot of bit of trouble when you can't pay your bills. So it kind of is what it is.
When it comes to stuff like that, like, it's the embarrassment of it, like, especially if they're minors, you know what I mean? Like, that have been doing that, right?
Well,
Because
yeah,
kids,
getting hemmed
they're
up.
get
Yeah,
yeah, they're getting access to technology a lot sooner, and if you're not monitoring it close enough, like, it could be one of those things where they're just giving all types of money and whatnot that you 'cause, I mean, if I'm being honest, like my younger 2 children, right? Like they're minors. I mean, they have accounts that they don't have access to. So if it was to happen for them, they don't have access to any type of money. You know what I mean? But as children start to get, as they start having jobs at 15, 16, 17 years old, you know what I mean? Like they have access to money to where it's like, even if they're bleeding them dry a little bit, it's like, hey, I'll give you $50 not to release this, right? Well, if you're doing that 100 times, right? Like that's a decent amount of money just from making a threat for something that you hold in your possession. But yeah, they're like I can, and I remember this specifically, right? Like, so I remember when Russia even was trying to take down some ransomware gangs, right? And it's just like, really, Russia, like trying to take some down, like like aren't y'all the breeding ground for this? Like
right. They're like,
this
it's
is what I
get
thought.
you got a prune. Like it's just
Yeah,
getting it's getting too wild over here.
yeah. So like, I mean, it's something that affects everybody, right? But yeah, these numbers and them going to fight, going not going to fight, but going to take advantage of some of these smaller countries over in Europe. Like, hey, you gotta go where the money can be, right? Now, I still think they should be careful, right? Because it could be one of those things where we've seen these international rings where they take down these these large ransomware groups. Like it's already happened, right? And it's not just the United States that's doing it. They'll bring in Australia, they'll bring in Germany, you know what I mean? They'll bring in England, you know what I mean? Things of that nature. So if you piss them off too much, you know what I mean, it may get to a point where it's like, okay, we need some help. And then all of a sudden, the United States Department of Justice, is leading this international ransomware hunting group. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, this is something that I know it was before COVID, but COVID really like exponentially made it to where this is something that is such a threat in the world today, right? Because like so many people just sitting at home, like man, like I can almost guarantee you have so many of these people that are in these ransomware gangs now because they lost their jobs, right? Like they weren't working or whatever may have happened, and they were like, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and get into this. I got bills to pay. You know what I mean? So now I'm a part of Alpha V,
Yeah,
whatever. Yeah,
Alfie.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah, so, but yeah, this people be careful out there. I'm just saying it, right? Be careful out there, right? So like if you don't make it profitable for these gangs, and I shouldn't just say people, like individual people, but like companies as well, stop paying them, right? Like it's Ryan, is your phrase, stray cats. It's like stray cats. You feed them once, right? They're just going to keep coming back, right? And you have no guarantee that they didn't make copies of the information that they said they had anyway, right? Like there's no guarantee of this. So you've paid them, you thought everything is free and clear, and then in 3 months they'll be like, yeah, my vacation's over. I need some more. I need some more money. I want to visit another private island now, right? It's going to be on you. So yeah, that's just the
Yeah,
world we live in.
like we always say, right? Strong passwords, multi-factor authentication. Get away from passwords if you can. Use KeyPass and a few other no password type of applications or authenticators, things of that nature. RSA keys. Like I don't care what you do. Like just make sure you keep yourself protected. So that way, when they do get into your stuff or attempt to get into your stuff, you're gonna get a text message or an email or a phone call that'll usually help to deter them off the bat, and then back your stuff up, right? Like anything that's important, put it somewhere else. Have multiple copies of it. And then last but certainly should not be least, do not share personal information of yourself to include pictures. Like don't don't send the person anything if you don't know them, right? Like that, because that seems to be how people date now. They send pictures of each other back and forth. Don't do it unless you know the person. And if you do know the person, like you don't know what their intent is anyway, right? Like they can still set you up for the fall or failure. So you just gotta
There's
be careful.
there's all types of stories out there where people think they know somebody like they really don't. You know what I mean? Like I can't tell you how many times I've seen something where this was a friend for so many years or whatever, and then they find something out or they try to continue a relationship or whatever. So especially somebody you don't know, don't do it. But here's the thing: I'm not in a dating game. I don't know how this works, right? Like I've been out of the pool for a long time, right? So I don't know if it's one of those things where you share different type of things on the app, which I'm not saying that's better, right? Like if it's on Tinder, I don't know if Tinder is even still a thing. Maybe it is. I don't know. But like
Yeah,
if you're
probably.
sharing, that's what I said. Hey, neither one of us know, Ryan. It's like
Yeah,
whatever, right? Like,
there like last time I dated, we still had like the party lines,
yeah.
right? Right, we call it a hard line to talk to a group of people.
For the younger listeners, like a hard line, like you had a phone that had it was connected, at your house. You know what I mean? Like,
Right, you could actually hang it up.
yeah, you can. Hey, you heard a click, but no, like like even if you're going to share photos on the app, right, like that is stored somewhere, right? And like there's no guarantee that even their stuff is safe. You know what I mean? Like they could be hacked as well. Tinder can be hacked, or Plenty of Fish, I think, was another one at
Yeah,
one
that
point.
one for cheaters.
Ashley Madison. Ashley
Yeah, that
Madison.
one,
Yep.
and they had government emails in it. Like
Yep.
what? Like you just got to be careful where you store your data or where you leave your data. Like none of us are perfect. At the end of the day, it's just trying to be more secure and more careful, because you're gonna hopefully frustrate them enough where they go to somebody else, an easier, softer target, right? Is what you want to create. But you reminded me of something. So there's a show on Apple TV called Maximum Pleasure Guaranteed. It stars Tatiana Maslany. So she was She-Hulk. I've only watched 3 or 4 episodes, but it's similar to that, right? She was being extorted is part of the story. So it's her trying to figure out, because like this extortion turns into a murder case, etc. Like it ramps up from there. So it's pretty good actually. Like so I can't swear by the whole series because I haven't gotten through it yet, but so far it's pretty good.
So I did come across that. So I remember when I messaged you and I was like, "Hey, I know you'd seen this." I was looking on stuff to add to my watch
Mhm.
list on Apple TV. I did see that come up, but I went past it. I didn't know what it was about. But that's like a murder just based off. I'm like, okay, this is getting kind of
Well,
serious. But
so I don't know how much I give away, but she's yeah, I can't without spoilers. But yeah, there's
yeah,
there's
don't
there's
spoil
murder involved.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay, don't spoil it. But
so it's
yeah, I
pretty
did
good. It's
I
pretty
did
good.
come across that. But yeah, folks, be careful out there, man. Like nobody. I don't want to see anybody get put in that position where they're like, yes, it is embarrassing. We've all done embarrassing things to where it's like, man, I just don't want that to get out. I don't want anybody to know about it. But you don't want to further compound it, right? Like, especially putting yourself in a financial hole that you can't really afford, right? Because these folks that are asking for money, they don't care. Like they'll bleed you dry. They don't care that your other bills don't get paid. They just care what you're going to provide to them. That's just what it is. So like, report it, deal with the embarrassment, which it's a temporary thing. The embarrassment of it all is temporary, right? Even there's even famous folks that have had embarrassing episodes happen to where you still see them, go on and I'm not gonna say prosper from it, but it just gets forgotten, right? Especially in this day and age, like the news cycle is
Right.
so fast when it comes to stuff like the next thing has to be fed. You know what I mean? So it's like it won't last long. And the same thing goes for your family. Like your family will be there for you for the most part. I can't guarantee. I don't know everybody's family, but your family will be there for you if something like that should happen. Just don't further compound it.
Exactly. So, without further ado, what we like to do on the show is we always like to land the plane with what you're doing outside of your work. So we talk to each other about, what activities you got going on, what you might be doing, plans for the summer, things of that nature. What media did you get into? So, Shannon, how was your week?
So before we get into that, man, like tell everybody where they could see the show, where we're being broadcast at,
Okay,
man. Let them
gotcha,
know.
gotcha.
Let them know.
So, your podcast platform of choice. We are also on video on YouTube and Spotify now. And then you can also check us out on WDJY 99.1 FM in the Atlanta metro area. That's Tuesdays at 5 p.m. Eastern. Or you can also check us out on Fairfax Radio. That is the second Wednesday of every month at 8 a.m. So we've expanded. Our reach is broadening. So tomorrow Joe Rogan. We're gonna have Joe Rogan type podcast. Spotify is gonna pay us 100 million. I think they paid him more than that. Actually, I don't know what the number was, but it was ridiculous.
I thought that's right. I
Is
thought
it
it was
100
like
million that they paid him?
5 years, 100 million, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, like some crazy. Because we are like surprisingly in the top 1% of podcasts because of consistency, right? Like we have over 900. I think we're at like 950 videos or something like that, or I should say episodes. So we're consistent. We have a ton of content out there, but what we could really use is some ratings, right? So, like, if you're listening to us on a podcast platform, please rate us. 5 stars would be great, but anything will also help to lead people in our direction. So, a lot of content, a lot of listeners, right? We have over 27,000 weekly listeners on VDJY 99.1 FM. We won't know about Fairfax for another quarter or two for the Nielsen's to pick up on that one. And then we have a really strong base that came from us on the podcast platforms of, like 10,000, 12,000 downloads per year. So we're going to keep making the content. We just need you to keep listening to it and share it. But thanks, Shannon. I always forget.
Yeah. No, hey, we out there. I just wanted the people to know we out there. We doing it. You know what I mean? But so for the week, let's see. So I watched this movie. The wife and I watched this movie, Little Brother. It's got John Cena and Eric Andre. So Eric Andre was his little brother, like the Big Brother program, that is out there.
Yeah. Hmm.
So he was the little brother. John Cena was the big brother to Eric Andre, who was a little brother years ago. Like it's got to be like pushing 30 years in the past. And like, so it like, I saw the preview for the movie and I was like, I don't know how they're going to connect the dots on this, right? Because it's like when he sees him, he's like, I don't know who this guy is, right? When he sees him, like, an accident happens, he sees him, he's like, I don't know this guy because he presented himself as John Cena's little brother. And so I'm like, how do you make this happen? And it turns out there is a link there. You have to watch the movie to see it on how they've been keeping up, where it wasn't necessarily John Cena that's been keeping up with him, and he thinks that there's a relationship there that isn't there. But it has its moments. Now I'll tell you this. Eric Andre, he's a little too out there sometimes for me.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, I don't know if he's your cup of tea.
He is. But this one was fine. Like you'll get a few laughs out of it. It's very crude humor. I mean, I will let people know this isn't like family friendly comedy by any means, right? Like it's definitely got some swear words, some actions. You see some things that's just like, oh gosh, you know what I mean? But it was good for the laughs. Like even the wife laughed a little bit, at some of the stuff she saw, and she's not very much into crude humor either. But for anybody that just wants to get a couple chuckles, it's not bad. What did I we start watching? We started watching this old TV series, right? Rosewood. The wife and I continued with watching that. Like
Yeah, it's a
she's
good one.
more in it. You've seen it?
I've seen it. I don't know if I finished it, but
Yeah.
I have seen it. Yeah.
Yeah. So like the wife wants to watch it to see the love story of it all. I'm like, I don't care about that. You know what I mean? Like it's murder, it's murders that they have to try to figure out, right? Like different homicides and things of that nature. But she's like, ooh, I want to see, so and so get together. And I'm like, okay, whatever. You know what I mean? But I've seen the series before. She had not, but I started rewatching it again, and she sat down for an episode. So now it's like, okay, sit down and watch it with me. But yeah, so it's not a bad series. It was only 2 seasons too, but I don't know, man. I think I'm on a Morris Chestnut kick or something like that, right? Because I watch Watson, like
He
the
has a
TV
lot of
series
shows.
Watson.
He
Yeah, like
he, he stays employed.
yeah, he stays in play, and he's not a bad actor. I don't think he's a bad actor, right? He's versatile in what he does, right? But yeah, I just it's my wife and I are watching it for different reasons. You know what I mean? Uh, Another old one, Lie to Me, is another one. Like so, we watched it years ago, and we started rewatching it again. And so, like I've as time has gone on, I've made jokes about it, right? Like she'll say something, and like in Lie to Me, there's points where he'll point out where somebody's lying, and he'll say what the trait is, right? And it's Tim Roth, right? So he's English or Welsh or whatever he is, right? So he's got the accent. So like as years have gone on, I've talked to my wife, and she'll say something, and I'll be like, "You see that right there?" I hit it with, "You see that right there? That's how I know you're lying, right there." You know what I mean?
That's a
So
really good
like,
impression.
hey, that's also, look, that's not just my Tim Roth. That's also my Idris. That's also
Right.
like I only know one. There's different flavors of it, but I only know one. But yeah, but no, it's a decent series. That one was only like I think 3 seasons out of that one. But the reason I had reached out to you yesterday is because I was on Apple TV because I hadn't been on it for a while, and I was looking at stuff, and I saw this thing, Star City, was this TV series that's out there, and
Right.
apparently it's a spinoff For All Mankind. So
Yes.
now,
I couldn't get into it. Like so for like I wanna watch it. I couldn't get past the first season for All Mankind, not knowing what it would evolve into. I just thought it was just gonna always stay a retro like retelling of the space race. But it just keeps going. Like now when I see a trailer, I'm like, yo, what is happening? Like they're on Mars? Like what, it's crazy. But yeah, I saw Star City and I saw that it was a spinoff. I was like, do I need to watch For All Mankind to get into it? But I'll let you go.
no, that was my thinking. So like when I found out it was a spinoff, I was like, do I need to watch For All Mankind? Now when I watched the trailer for All Mankind, I was like, I'm not necessarily sold on this. You know what I mean? And I don't
Because
know.
the first season's like I if you watch the first season, get you would not see where they were going.
Yeah.
Like it gets like I like that though, like how it evolved or what have you, but I just couldn't get through it. It was just it felt like I was watching Apollo 13 for like a whole season, right? Like very scientific, very like thorough. I could do that for like an hour and a half, but not for 13 hours. It's like now it feels like a documentary, right? But yeah, now it's futuristic. Like they out there in space doing stuff. So I'm like, I don't know.
But do you want to have to suffer the slog to get to that point, right? I think that's what it is. Like and I don't. Like that's my thing, right? Like I don't. Like I've gotten to the point now where like if I give it I usually give it 3 episodes, but after the first one I usually know. I've even got to the point now where I will skip a season and go to the next season and be like, okay, let me see what that looks like. And if that's still a no, I'm like, all right, I gotta give it up. But like I don't think, and it's crazy you say that because when I read that For All Mankind was what Star City was based off of, the article I was reading was giving For All Mankind such praise. And like you didn't like it, I didn't like what I saw from the trailer. I'm like, ugh, like what qualifies as being something good nowadays? You know what I mean? Like I don't know.
But I really just couldn't get like maybe second season was where it was at, but like the first season is really it feels like okay I've seen this before. I've seen the space race, which is always interesting and what have you. But then the twist was we lost it, right? Like they got there first, they landed and what have you. And I think I got to an episode where we had a base, right? Because we lost, the race just kept going. Right, so now we got a base on the moon. And I was like, that's kind of cool. And then as they were like walking around the moon, exploring or whatever, they found another base. Where does the base come from? Right, it's the Russian base. And I was like, oh, that's kind of a cool twist. But I was like, I'm kind of petered out though. It took a long time to get here.
And that's what I don't want, man. Like that, I don't want to take forever. This is why I stopped watching Monarch, the Monarch TV series. Like it seemed like they were taking too long to get to the point where I know this is eventually going to end up, right? Because I've seen past where they're at in that timeline for Monarch, right? Like they're in the 50s or 60s, I think, in the TV series or something like that. So I've seen Godzilla, I've seen Kong, I've seen all the stuff that goes past it. I know what is coming. Don't take forever to get there. Like, give me good stuff before you get to that point. But again, Star City looked really good, but I was just like, ooh, okay. I was like, I gotta give this a shot. And so when the recommendations showed up on Apple TV, that's why I asked you about Silo, because Silo
Yeah.
was one of the recommendations, and I was like, I thought you said, it started off pretty good and then it kind of petered off a little bit.
Season one was really good.
Yeah.
But he's always trying. It's a mystery box show. It's like, why is this here? What is going on? And then season two, they pared it down to just a handful of people, right? So you go from an entire silo of people to just a handful, like, and a, a silo that went awry, and it got kind of boring in there. But like at the very end of that one, they went back in time to show like, okay, before the bombs dropped, this what was going on. Like, so you see like half an episode of that. I was That's kind of interesting, not knowing that the third season was gonna, I guess, be primarily that they're gonna go back before the bombs drop. I was like, okay, I can get back into it to see what caused it to happen, because you don't know who dropped the bombs. You dropped them on ourselves. Did somebody else attack us? Like, what caused this to happen? So I think they got me again. I think they piqued my interest.
They're
And that's
gonna get you back into it.
Yeah, that's July 3rd. I think it comes back July 3rd.
Yeah, it's
After like a
Friday.
2-year break. Like, these breaks are long.
Well, because they have A-list actors, like, so I'm noticing that as I go through, right, and I'm looking at what is that offered on Apple. I don't think I've seen a series that does not have an A-list actor in it. Like, it just does not happen, and this is why they're losing $1 billion a year on Apple TV or whatever it is that Apple is losing on it. But again, they're a $3 trillion company, right? So what is that to them, right? What's a
Right.
goon to a goblin at that point, right? Like, whatever. But yeah, so like I want to start those. I have not started those, but I'm like, man, like For All Mankind, I might give it a couple episodes and then be like,
It might do it for you, man. It's like Foundation, right? Like, so I checked out Foundation. I really enjoyed the first season. But I never really picked it up after that. And it's my own fault. I have weird taste in media. I don't like for it to be too long, right? I like for it to get straight to the point. And with shows like that, it's gonna be at least 7 seasons. I'm like, that's a lot of seasons, right? Because and it scratches it. It's weird. It scratches it in itch I always wanted to see. Like, I've always been into like sci-fi, right? Like, I really enjoy sci-fi, but it's always weird how there's always this one person who can save the entire galaxy, right? Like, it's a galaxy full of people, right? So it's already billions of people on Earth. Now you expand this into, the heavens, so to speak. It's trillions and trillions of people. You mean to tell me this handful of ragtag people are gonna have, like, all of this impact on everything, which it could be. But I always wanted to see series kind of expand past that, like what's happening over, this quadrant versus that quadrant. And now that it's happening, I'm like, that's dope. But now it takes 8 seasons to tell that story, and I'm like, oh, I ain't got it in me. So it's me. I'm the problem.
like Taylor Swift, right?
Right, right.
But no, I'm a sci-fi fan too. But like I can suspend disbelief for like some of the stuff that you're talking about. Like if it's gonna be I watch superhero movies, right? Like I'm like I can take it. There's an actual god of thunder, right, with a hammer that nobody can lift or few people can lift, right, outside of Vision and Captain America, right? Hopefully that's not a spoiler for anybody. You're years behind if you didn't know that already.
I don't remember when Endgame came out. Has it been a decade since?
It was 2020, right?
Mm.
2021, something like that. It's been a few years, but yeah, I'm gonna give him a shot, man. It was just one of those things where I was like, I haven't watched Apple TV in a while, so I went and looked and saw some stuff. It was like, okay, I'll give it a shot. But that's been my week. How about you, Ryan?
So I got to a little bit of media watching. So like, I'm watching that Maximum Pleasure Guaranteed. It's a pretty good show. Again, it goes into cyber, like kind of like cyber, right? When the sexploitation thing, and it gets into murder and whatnot. So far so good. It's keeping my interest. Aside from that, what else? I finally watched The Substance. So I've been meaning to watch it, but I kept saying like, it's probably gonna be boring. Like, I never saw a trailer that really piqued my interest, right? But then they spoofed it in Scary Movie, so I was like, I'll give it a shot finally, and it was actually really good. But it's not horror. It's not traditional horror, right? There's no boogeyman. It's body horror where like, I'm not giving anything away in the trailer, but Demi Moore, she's getting older, she's out of the limelight, so she's introduced to this thing called the substance that's able to bring back your youth. But the way it works is gruesome. So I would say if you got like an hour and 20, hour and 30, I think it was about an hour and 30 minutes. It's worth a shot. Can't watch around kids. So much nudity. I was not expecting that. Like way more than I expected. Like every other scene, somebody's naked. So because it's really about the like body torture type gruesome transformations. It's rough.
Is this an Apple TV series or
No,
what
it's
is it?
on HBO Max. It's
Okay.
a movie. So she was up for a award. Demi Moore was up for like either an Oscar or something like that, which she didn't win. Like horror movies never win awards like that. But she acted her butt off. Like I was like, man, this is actually a really good horror flick. So I enjoyed that, and then played some games. Right, so I'm still playing through Cyberpunk very slowly. But I booted up the original Final Fantasy VII, so the PS1 version, because I was like, you know what, I never played this in modern day with trophies, so I kind of want to earn these trophies, and it has some quality of life features. So if you click the I think it's if you click the right stick in, you can basically become invulnerable, right? So you can beat enemies fairly quickly. And if you click the left trigger, you can speed everything up to 3 times speed. So you can get through dialogue faster and cutscenes faster. So basically, it's just for people who want to speed through it to remember what was going on before you play the other game. So I'm going through that right now, earn some trophies, and after I like I'm bounced between that and Cyberpunk and Batman Lego. So I can't make my mind up what I want to play. So I'm just bouncing around all three of those over and over again. Just preparing for Grand Theft Auto 6. Cannot wait. It's officially gonna happen. They're taking pre-orders. They took my pre-order. They took my money. I cannot wait. Trailer unseen. So everybody's waiting for that next trailer to drop because they're taking money. No trailer yet. So they're really slowly getting the hype ready. Can't wait.
So when I turned on my PS5, there was a big
Yep.
advertisement for it. There was not a trailer with that. It
So
said, I think it said
that's an
view
old trailer.
game and just.
Yeah, it's an old
Oh,
trailer.
okay,
Yeah, yeah.
okay.
They haven't dropped a new trailer since that one. And that was like a year ago.
Yeah, that was a
Yeah.
while ago. If it's that one.
So yep. So it's like a year ago. But they dropped like 63 screenshots, like some new screenshots. And there's two different SKUs, right? $80 is the standard edition, which is higher than normal, right? So there's only a couple $80 games nowadays. I think it's like Mario Kart World was $80. Another Nintendo game was $80, and now this was $80, which I don't mind, right? I'm gonna get hundreds of hours of content out of this, so I do not care. It costs $80, but then the Ultimate Edition is $100, and you get like skins and access to different missions and some stores and things of that nature that are just locked behind that pay gate. Which, like your face, like people are kind of upset. I do not care. I was like, take my $100. So I like for Grand Theft Auto, like so far, like Rockstar hasn't released the numbers, but it's looking as though in just pre-orders alone, they are already up $1 billion. So it's rumored to have cost $1 billion. So it's the most expensive media product ever. And then when it comes to marketing, whatever your budget to make it is, it's going to be your marketing budget. So that's another $1 billion in marketing is what they think is going to roll out between now and when it drops. So that's $2 billion they had to remake. But GTA 5 online makes so much money. That's a drop in the bucket for them, right? But already in just pre-orders, they are speculating in the first 72 hours, 39 million people pre-ordered the game. So it's estimated that they've already made 3 billion or more in off the pre-orders before it went on sale. And I'm part of the problem because I gave them $100. I do not care. This will be the first time we get to see what an infinite amount of money can generate in a product. What will this product look like? Because they had infinite money. I can't wait. Can I wait?
So let me ask you something. Do you think it's possible for you to be disappointed?
I don't. Because my hype level is always going to be that Rockstar, since Grand Theft Auto 3, always pushes the medium, right? So I don't know what $1 billion game looks like, but I guarantee you it's going to look like nothing else I've played. So that's fine. That's the new standard. They always pushing the bar, right? They will become the new standard of what an open world should be. Because they did it in 3, they did it in Vice City was my favorite, and now they're going back to Vice City, so I'm super pumped about that. And it's Florida, basically. Like Leonida is what they call it. But I live here now, so I cannot wait to see their modern day representation of Florida. So I don't think I could be disappointed. And I don't play the online stuff like that. That's not going to roll out at the when this drops. Probably because they just cannot anticipate how many people are going to buy this game. So I don't think they're prepared for the server load that's going to happen. And the only reason I pre-ordered is like I didn't want those things behind the pay gate, but B, it lets you preload the game. I think starting on the 12th, so 7 days before the game drops, because I already know it's going to take way longer to download because they're going to crash every server that's out there. So I'd rather have access to it before, like not access to play, but access to download it before day one. Because day one, I guarantee you, people are going to be upset. They're gonna go buy the game, they're gonna go try to play it, and they're not gonna be able to download.
Isn't it November 6th was the date? Or what month?
19th. So
19th.
it at one point it was like May 26th, and then it got pushed back to May 19th.
Gotcha. I asked the question I asked because of the hype. Now you're a big fan and you're a huge fan. You've been waiting forever. You've bought Vice
13
City
years.
You bought Vice City 4 or 5 times. You said
GTA 5 I bought 4 times. So because it came out on PS3, debuted on PS3 in 2013, 13 years ago, Shannon. And then I bought the PS4 version when it dropped, the PS5 version when it dropped, and then Junior played the PC version. So I bought it 4 times. It was worth it every single time.
Okay.
Cannot wait. I'll probably go buy this several times. This is going to drop on PS5. Then I'm going to pay the PS6 version when that drops. And then the PS7 version when that drops. It took over a decade to make this game. Over a decade and a $1 billion budget, Shannon.
That is a lot of money to put into a video
It's going to be
game.
amazing.
A lot of money. I was not a fan as much as other people were. So like if it's more of, I don't want to say more of the same, but if it's more of what it was doing anyway, I mean, it's just not for me. But good on them that they're about to get that Skrilla boy. They're about to make that money
off chumps like me, and that's fine. And people are also upset that it's not coming out on a disc initially. So like even stores are boycotting the game right now, saying that we won't stock it because the physical edition will just have a code inside of it. But I think that serves 2 purposes. So the optimistic side of me is saying that they don't want the game to leak, right? Because that like no one will have access to this game before it drops. Because GTA 5 leaked, like somebody hijacked a truck and stole it off the truck when it came out. So like this one, you will not be able to access. You might have the code, but you can't download it before anybody else. So it's locked down. That's great. But I think number 2 of it is the resale market for GTA is like they lost out on millions and millions of dollars. Like one retailer said that they resold GTA 5 202,000 times. That means that people brought the game back in to trade back out to somebody else to pick back in. Just think if Rockstar was able to sell that, how much money they would have also made on top of it, right? So I think it serves both of those purposes. Now, will it come out on disc later? Maybe, but I don't. The only physical media game wise that I care about is Nintendo games. So if Nintendo makes it, I buy it on physical cart because the resale value is super high for Nintendo games. Anything else, I download. I don't care.
It may be a physical media restriction because of the size of it. Like if it took this long and it's going to be so open world and there's going to be so much, like it may be one of those things where they're like, we cannot get this on.
Right. We didn't want to ship it on
disc,
10
right?
discs.
Like, yeah, you know what I mean? It's like that could be what it is. But you bring up a good point about the whole just having the code for it and it only drops at that certain time. That's a good point.
Yeah, May times like if Shannon, like you probably go to work on November 19th and it will be a ghost town. I already put my PTO in. I will not be there because I took leave because I was in the military when GTA 5 came out. I took leave for that week. It dropped. I was nowhere to be found. And they said there was a dip on that day when it came out. So same thing now. Like you think 39 million people pre-ordered this thing and nobody's gonna be at work. But I'm super excited, as you can see, so I cannot wait. And no, I don't think it could disappoint me. Just its presence will keep me warm, Shannon, like a blanket. Pull over myself, go to bed. So but with that being said, I got to land this plane before we go over time. So thank you all for listening. Thank you, Shannon, for joining me on the show. Please continue to check us out on your podcast platform of choice. You can see us on video on both YouTube and Spotify. And then you can also listen to us on the radio on WDJY 99.1 FM. That is in the Atlanta metro area. That's Tuesdays, 5 p.m. Eastern, as well as Fairfax Radio in the broader Washington, D.C. area. That's the second Wednesday of every month at 8 a.m. Stay safe. Stay secure.